Last week when we talked about the iPhone production cuts, you said that you thought these early indicators aren't very good indicators for what the quarter ultimately shows. But now we have even more bad news that there are production cuts across all three of Apple's new iPhones and this news from Foxconn. Does that make you any more concerned about the fate of the iPhone this quarter?
Yes, it makes us more concerned, Emily, but not to the point where we think that there is anything wrong with the quarter. And so I think that this is an art to try to read these data points from the channel. Typically, when you hear these data points, as Tim was talking about, his view is that this is now we've landed in a place where there could be something that's not right about Apple's December quarter. I'm still firmly in the camp that things are going to be fine and that Apple's guidance hasn't materially changed. Nothing has changed in the business over the last 3 weeks since November 1st when they gave guidance. But there is a process here of taking these data points. I just want to put a little bit of a finer point on it, is that if we're hearing these kind of things, let's say mid-December, then we start to realize there's a problem. Typically, Apple does cut production within the supply chain. You said it when you're talking. You asked the question when you're talking to Tim. You know, don't we see these drips and drabs every quarter, every year? And the answer is we do. And so it really is the magnitude and the timing of these which is most important. And simply put, I don't think we're at a point right now where we're in any sort of risk to Apple's December quarter.
All right. Now, I want to turn to another subject and a personal experiment that you ran on yourself where you tried to take technology out of your life. You published a note saying that superhumans will use less technology, not more. Tell me about your discovery as a result of this experiment.
So the broader topic is tech addiction, and this is an important topic. And Doug Clinton, who's one of the managing partners at Loup Ventures, has done a lot of research on that. And the entire Loup team has gone through different phases over the last month where we've kept our phones at home and gone on watch or tried different, more slimmed down versions of the phone. And what we found is simply that all of us, most of us, struggle with some form of tech addiction. Some people, just like people who maybe struggle with alcohol, have it and they can manage it. It might be a 3 or a 4, but there are people who it's more extreme. It's kind of an 8 or a 9. And the simple takeaway is this, is we have become content-consuming machines. The way these phones are geared, it's not the hardware problem. The way that Facebook and YouTube gears their recommendation engines, it just can become this trap where it becomes mindless activity. And so what we're really trying to do is find ways, how do you actually minimize it? So today, Google came out with some new tools to help manage, similar to the tools that Apple has, to help using software to manage your tech addiction. The reality, that's like putting a lock on someone's alcohol cabinet who might have a drinking problem. That simply won't work. There's an opportunity here to create new ways of hardware, or an even easier opportunity simply to delete Facebook, delete Instagram, delete YouTube. And I challenge your viewers, if you do that, I bet you will find more time and you will feel more alive and more human in doing that.
You know, I actually don't doubt that, Gene, but here's my question, and you say you might never go back to your bad phone, the one that still has all those apps on it, but what about the expectations of society, the expectations of your employer? Because these tools do exist, don't all of those things have to change if our behavior is also going to change?
We think everyone should have a phone. We think that we are not going back. I think multi-devices, we think wearables. We're huge believers in tech, and I think that's kind of the surprising distinction is we think that these can coexist. We think that in order to, for kids, for example, just to be, quote, normal, you probably need to be on Instagram just to communicate with your friends, or Snapchat. And so there are levels around that and some parameters, but the issue that we have isn't with tech. The issue is when it becomes to be more consuming. And you know when you're slipping into that, when it has this, you quickly spend 15 minutes in mindless activity. That's the piece that we're trying to zero in on.